Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is the video version of my Tech Guy podcast. To keep the downloads smaller, we have combined the best from the Saturday and Sunday show into one episode. This is from the weekend of May 7th and 8th, 2011, episodes 767 and 768. Enjoy. Well, a good day to you, Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. And my friends, it's time to discuss the ins and outs, the ups and downs, the pros and cons of computing, the internet, cell phones, camcorders, MP3 players, home theater, all the pros and cons, the goods, the bads, the uglies of this high-tech world we live in these days. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my phone number if you want to talk about it with me. I'd love to hear from you. I said that very fast, didn't I? Don't scramble. Don't worry. There's a couple of ways to get the phone number. One, I'll say it again. 888-827-5536. But I know I can never really say it slow enough. So we've put it right on the front page of the website, techguylabs.com. That's easy to remember, right? Tech Guy Labs. I'm the Tech Guy, see? And I'm in the lab. So this is the techguylabs.com. And right on the front page there, you will see not only the phone number to call, but links to the chat room. We have a great chat room. Always fun to be in there. Those are the kind of the smart acre kids in the back of the class making wise cracks at me. They're also, I like to think of them really as my brain. You see, we're very modern here on the Tech Guy. We live in the future. And in the future, all of us will have our brains right in machines. So I've done that early by creating this chat room. And there's about 600 people in there right now. And anytime I can't remember anything or I don't know the answer to a question, I just look down and I say, chat room. And they instantly, they tell me, oh, Leo, what you're trying to remember, what you were trying to say, the correct answer to that question is, and then I can pass it on to you. So that's a great community, and I invite you to be in there. You don't have to be a smart acre or even know the answers to anything. Just go visit. We've got great moderators in there, too, so it's family-friendly and safe for all ages. So don't hesitate to invite your kids in. It's one of the things I like about this show. You know, sometimes if you do a show about a topic or just talk radio in general, you get a certain slice of people, you know, a certain age group. Of course, if it's a local show, you get a certain locality. Radio is very local. That's what I like about radio. It's very intimate and local. But in some cases, what local means is not necessarily local to a geographic spot, but local to a community of interest. And that's what's neat about this particular community of interest technology is it's every age. We've got 7-year-olds and 70-year-olds listening. We've got people from all around, not just your town, not just the U.S., but all over the world, thanks to the internet. And so that makes it kind of an interesting community, a community that is more vertical than horizontal. It is more about a community of interest. And I like that because you meet all kinds. And really, the thing I like about tech is that your status in this community is not based on your economic value, the color of your skin, your religion, any of those external silly things. It's based on what you got upstairs, on your knowledge, your ability, your skills. It's a true meritocracy. So sometimes you'll get 12-year-old kids who are looked up to by us oldsters because they're so good, they're so knowledgeable, they're so smart. I like that. We honor people's brains here. I always said that's the true definition of a geek. I was a geek in high school. I know many people were geeks in high school. People say, what does that mean? Were you on the AV squad? I don't even know if they have AV squads anymore. I don't think they have to anymore. They have the tech team. No, I wasn't on the AV squad. But I define a geek as somebody, particularly in high school, who cares more about what's going on above the neck than below the waist. If you know what I mean. It's somebody who it's the They live in the land of the mind, and I love that. Really nice to have you here today. We have lots to talk about. There's always great news or fascinating news, maybe sometimes bad news, as in the case of the Sony situation. What a mess that is. Talked about that last week, and it just gets worse and worse. My advice to you, if you have an account on any Sony network, whether it's the PlayStation Network, Sony Online Entertainment, Curiosity, any of the Sony networks, is to change your password for sure. And use this as a reminder. So many people do this, and it's such a bad idea that you need a different password for every site, because if one site gets compromised, as this one has, and people's passwords have been revealed, as this apparently has happened, then that password that you used on the Sony site, if you used it on Twitter or worse on your email, you're really vulnerable. So not only should you change your passwords for Sony and related sites, but you should change. At this point, you should change any of the sites that you use that have the same password. And from now on, let's not have the same password, shall we? For every site, let's have a different one. Now, you might say, well, Leo, who has time to think up a password for every site, let alone remembering a password for every site? And that's when I point you, as I have in the past, to a wonderful program that is free to use, although there is a $1 a month pro version as well. It's called LastPass. Now, there's some irony here, because LastPass itself might have been compromised recently. Well, this is an interesting story, and I think a kind of an interesting contrast between what Sony did and what LastPass did. See, Sony waited till they were sure there was a breach, then they took the system down and they belatedly notified people. LastPass doesn't even know there was a breach, but they noticed some strange flows of information, and rather than take a chance, they immediately notified everybody and required people to change their passwords on LastPass. They also assured people that the system that they use, which is very clever and very sophisticated, prevented any bad guy from discovering any information about you. So you don't have to worry too much about being compromised by all of this. And so that's why I can, with confidence, say, if you are in need of a great password creation and memorization tool that requires you to remember only one password, LastPass.com. It works on Windows, it works on Mac, it works on every smartphone, it works in every browser, and it's just fantastic. And what you'll do is, from now on, when you go to a new site and you need a password, you tell LastPass, give me a password, and LastPass automatically remembers it, and from now on automatically logs you in, if you choose to have that setting turned on when you go to that site. You don't have to remember it. You need only remember one master password, which means you can make that master password secure. So change your master password if you are a LastPass user, and they'll make you do that. That's kind of what happens now when you log into LastPass. And not because they know something happened, just because they were afraid something happened, which I like. I like their proactiveness. And from now on, if you use LastPass, you can have strong passwords for Sony and every other site, even if it's a silly site like I don't know, who cares who gets your New York Times password, right? But people, you should care if somebody gets your Twitter password or your email or your Facebook password. That would be bad. So let's have good, strong passwords. Let's remember them with something like LastPass. If you're already using RoboForm or FirstPassword or KeyPass, those are all great solutions as well. Do the same thing. Their password storage tools generate strong passwords. Remember them. You only have to remember one master password. Any of those solutions really are the way to go. And it's what I do. And it just is it's really fantastic. Now, let's talk about that master password. It probably shouldn't be, I love my dog. It shouldn't be, despite what you may have read. There was a guy a couple of weeks ago. Actually, he published the article a year and a half ago, but it came out a couple of weeks ago, or kind of resurfaced, about how a short passphrase might be better than a random password. That's true. But I would recommend, if you're going to use a short passphrase like I love my dog, that instead of using spaces, you use a random punctuation. Or even better, and this is what I do, and I love doing this, pick something that you can remember, a passage from Shakespeare, to be or not to be, and just use the first letters of that, capitalizing some, using punctuation. It's easy to recreate, easy to remember, but not easy to guess. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. I like this. You recognize it? I'm thinking that's the Macintosh error sound set to music. Or is it a Windows error?
Old Windows XP.
It's a Windows XP error. Kyle, you're good. It's the Windows XP sound. I hate that sound. That's the only problem with using it in music. I hate that. Don't you hate that sound? Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We were talking in the chat room about ways to make good, strong passwords. And, you know, here's the trouble, is that a good, strong password is totally random and has a mix of numbers, letters, punctuation. And is longer than, well, longer the better, right? I would say at least 8 characters, but 10 would be better. If you get a good 10-character random character string, you've got a pretty good password. And that's the master password for LastPass. That's the password perhaps you use on your Wi-Fi keys, you know, your WPA key for Wi-Fi, that kind of thing. But Microsoft and others have observed, security experts have observed, the problem with a truly good random password is you can't remember it, right? It's not memorable. And what happens if you can't remember it? Oh, well, you just, you know, you write it on a Post-it note, and you put it right on the side of your screen there. Right there. So there, that way you won't forget it, which means it's worse than no password at all. So we got to find a password that is random that we can remember. And that's where that little technique I talked about going into the break there is so helpful. If you can create what looks like or seemingly random password, but it has a mnemonic attached to it, that would be the best way to do it. You know what a mnemonic is. A mnemonic is, you know, in school we use mnemonics to remember things. Like the value of pi to 10 places. I memorized that by memorizing the little doggerel sentence, how I want to drink alcoholic, of course, after the heavy chapters on quantum mechanics. And the number of characters in each word, how, 3, I, 1, want, 4, a, 5, 1, are the numbers of pi, right? So that's a mnemonic. You remember the colors in the rainbow by the name Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Handy, isn't it? Very handy. So a mnemonic would be a good way to remember a seemingly random but not really random password. Now, admittedly, it's not as good as a truly random password. That I admit. But pretty good. Pretty good. So I suggested maybe the first letters of a song. We liked My Baby Takes the Morning Train, the old Sheena Easton song, because it has a number in it, right? My baby takes the morning train. She works from 9 to 5. And then, so now let's see. That would be, and I capitalize it because it's the beginning, capital M. It's good to mix case too, upper and lower case. MBTTMT, comma, good little punctuation. SWF 9 TO 5. So we've got letters, we've got punctuation, we've got upper and case, lowercase letters, punctuation, and numbers in there. That makes a good password. Don't use that one. But just, you know, probably not a good one to use. The nice thing about it, make it long enough especially, is even somebody looking over your shoulder who sees a little bit of it isn't going to be able to deduce the rest in most cases. Unless, and I find myself sometimes doing this, you hum it out loud while you're typing it. Don't do that. Don't, my baby takes some more. Don't do that. That'd be a bad idea. And by the way, yes, Sheena used he. If you use she because you're a guy, see, that makes it even harder, right? See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? I remember first seeing this used by using the succession of presidents of the United States, capitalizing Republicans. And if you want to make it really complicated, put the number of years they served. Now, this can be complicated. You have to remember your history. Let's see. So it'd be a capital E for Eisenhower. You get the idea. A lowercase. Oh, and then you have to put the number of years 8. Lowercase K for Kennedy. Number of years 3. A lowercase J for Johnson. What is that? I don't even remember. 5, 7, 6 years. You see how it gets complicated, but at least it's reconstructible, and that's the idea of this, is that you can. It doesn't have to be easily reconstructible, although it's nice if you have to type it in a lot. I like song lyrics because I remember them and they're in my head. Lots of ways to do this. The idea is to make it something that you can recreate without writing it down that will not be easily guessable, and especially useful if you're using a system like LastPass. This does not replace LastPass, but it's especially useful if you're using something like LastPass, because then, you do have to have one password you remember with LastPass or any other password recovery system, because that's the password that unlocks the passwords. If you do that, you can always, unlock that master pass. I wanted to finish that system. Now people are in our chat room are suggesting song lyrics. They're writing out a password saying, "What song is this?" It's actually a good test. How easy would it be to guess if you saw the initials? Sean in Hermosa Beach, our first call of the day. Hey, Sean, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. Speaking of security, I am part of the #1 ISP in the country. You may have heard of us. It's called the Steal from Your Neighbor Network.
You're on Linksys. The #1 ISP in the country, Linksys.
Well, a couple weeks ago, I went over to my neighbor's house to tune her system. She's a lovely grandma, and happened to be looking at her network, and I could see all of my computers on my home network.
By the way, did Grandma know you were sharing her internet?
Oh, yeah, she knows. She knows.
This is actually a good way to solve this, which is if you see an open Wi-Fi access spot, as you did with Grandma, and you go over and say, "Hey, I want to be a good neighbor and help you secure it, and maybe I can give you a few bucks a month, and can I share it? Because you're so close that we get great access." What a great way to do it. You're a good neighbor. You're helping her secure her network, and yours, by the way, if you're using her network.
I have the blazing fast Verizon Fios, and I share it with her.
Oh, that's nice. That's even nicer. What a sweetie, Sean.
I get to read her morning paper, so that's how it works out.
Well, and that's why you've got to use WPA encryption.
Got that. I got that. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find step-by-step instructions to lock her out except for internet access. I don't want her to see all my computers.
If you're using WPA networking, she shouldn't be able to. Oh, I know what you're doing. Are you using a Mac?
We have mixed. We have mixed Mac and...
Yeah. That's true. She will be able to see the file sharing, the names of the file sharing computers. And on Macs, it's kind of by default if you use back to my Mac.
See if there's instructions.
Well, here's the thing.
My router.
Here's the thing. Anyway, you should have all of these password protected. So she may be able to see the network, but she shouldn't be able to double-click it and access the files on that network.
Okay.
So that's the best way to do this. Let me talk about how to do this when we come back, because this is fairly important. I think people do this, and it's dangerous. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, he could use a guest Wi-Fi, but I think it's harmless for people to see the name of your server as long as they can't get to the data on the server, and that's what we'll protect. But I will look at this Geeks Are Sexy page. Sean in Hermosa Beach is a good neighbor. I should warn you, Sean, or anybody listening, it's really cool what you're doing. He's got a lot of access, and he's sharing it with his neighbor. You should check, of course, your terms of service with your internet service provider. Make sure that that's, okay. And furthermore, you should be careful. There was a story a couple of weeks ago. A guy who had an open, unprotected Wi-Fi access spot in his home. Police came, threw him to the ground, pointed guns at him, called him a pervert and a child molester because it turns out his neighbor, who was in fact not such a nice person, had been using his open access point to download child pornography.
Okay, then I'm Joe from New York. Then.
So I think Grandma's probably okay, but just remember, you're liable for everything she does on your system. And
I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah, I'm not too worried either. So
you never know who's going to come over. repair guy, or who knows, you know.
Well, that's why absolutely you got to use WPA encryption and be fairly judicious about who you give the password to.
She doesn't even know it. I input it.
Perfect. So she can't accidentally give it to her nephew who comes over to steal music, so that's good. And you know, by putting on WPA protection on your router, you're doing a number of very useful things. First of all, it does encrypt all the traffic, so nobody sitting on your curb can see anything. Only somebody with the password can get to your network. It does prevent things like Firesheep from stealing cookies. So Firesheep is a very scary plugin for Firefox that you could use in an open access spot like at a coffee shop to see who's on Facebook and to log in as them. But if WPA is turned on, and this is why everybody who does an open access point should turn on WPA encryption. If that WPA encryption is turned on, you can't do that either.
Aren't there ports that handle file sharing for that part of the network that I could shut off?
Not to her, because she's on your network. So what you need is, now some routers will do this. They'll have guest access. You should check in your route. Is it a fairly recent Wi-Fi router?
Yes.
Okay, so I would check and see if there is sometimes they have different names for it, but sometimes it's guest access, sometimes it's AP protection, things like that. There's things that sometimes on many newer routers you can turn on that will give you the opportunity to create a guest account. You can also sometimes, depending on the hardware, download new firmware for it that will give you that capability. But you don't. But let me just say this, especially since this is a benign neighbor. You should be doing this anyway. You should have password protection on all file shares anyway. I have that too. Yeah, that's fine. Then that means she can see the name, but she can't access anything beyond that. If she tries to get to that server, it'll say, "What's the password?" and she's done. And that's, unless you have, names that somehow pass on information that you're worried about, I would say that's sufficient.
Okay.
Considerate says if you use, now I haven't tried this, but he says if you use a $sign at the end of the share name, then simple browsing, when you open the file browser in Windows, it won't see the names. You'll have to then go to the server. So.
Okay.
And the other suggestion, of course, is if you use WPA, WPA2 is slightly preferable. There is a brute force attack on WPA, but it's difficult, and it's only successful if you use a easily guessable password. So even with the WPA passwords, don't make them a dictionary word. You know what's a good choice for a situation like that is pick 2 dictionary words separated with a random punctuation or number.
Okay.
Okay. But I think you're fine, Sean, as long as you have password protection. All that means is she can see the names. It's not going to do anything. She can't get in there. And truth is, that's kind of what you want normally anyway, because you don't want anybody who can get on your network to automatically be able to see your shares. You want them to have accounts on those shared systems. Interesting, the idea of the home group. The problem is he has Macs and Windows, so any Windows-only solution isn't necessarily going to do the job for him. And again, if you have a newer router, you do have that great capability of putting in a guest access. That solves the whole problem. It's intentional. And he's smart. He doesn't give her the WPA password. He just sets it up. The computer remembers it. No big deal. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number, 888-827-5536. I love it. Let's go to Edinburgh, in Scotland, and Mike, who's calling in from Skype. Hi, Mike.
Hello, Leo.
Welcome to the show. I love it that the calls that come in from Scotland via Skype sound 20 times better than the phone call from down the street.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's a shame. You'll pick up my nerves as well then. I'm amazed to be on the show. Thanks for what you do, by the way. I listen to the Tech Guy podcast as often as I can, and I think you're a real inspiration.
Thank you, Mike.
I don't know if my question is to do with a scam that's going around at the moment seems to be getting worse. That I don't know if you've heard of it. Somebody phones up claiming to be from Microsoft Service Center, and then they say there's problems have been detected on your PC, and that they've been detailed off to sort them for you. They then direct you onto your PC and get you to run Event Viewer and show the list of errors that come up through that, and then they direct you to download a remote support software so that they can get access to your PC. Is this something you've heard about? Is it?
Of course, there are many scams like this. The problem with this kind of scam is it's very labor intensive. Somebody has to work pretty hard. On the other hand, it's much more effective. So there's some bad guys who just spray their scams to as many computers as possible. There's one right now going around in the Mac world. It's the Mac Defender, but there's some PC ones as well. In these automated scams, they succeed because they hit millions of computers and they get a certain percentage of people who fall for it. But this particular scam of calling somebody it's what we call social engineering, and it takes a certain kind of person. I think a sociopathic person. I mean, a truly evil person who is really willing to lie to somebody's face that way. But these are very effective, and they're particularly effective on neophyte users, older people, people who say, "Oh, how nice! Microsoft called me to help me." Anybody like you and me, Mike, we're just gonna go, "Oh yeah, right, get out of here, you nitwit."
What makes me furious is because I work with older people in a sort of computer support role, and three people I know, that's just in Edinburgh, have fallen victim to this. One lady was she's 80 plus. She was charged £80 for she let them have they're very good. I mean, I've managed to catch them on, because it's so prevalent, it's really mushrooming here, that they're phoning several times a week, and I managed to sort of get one of them.
Good Lord.
Put it on YouTube. I mean, there's lots of videos on YouTube about it now, I know, but I just was desperate to do my bit.
Tell me where the YouTube video is, Mike, and we'll put it in our show notes so people can see it.
Right. I've only just put it up. It's if you
hold on a second. We're gonna have to take a break. When we come back, you could tell me. Don't go anywhere. Leo Laporte. I'd like to hear what this sounds like. The Tech Guy.
Carbonite Consumer Library, Leo.
Thank you. Oh, it's my turn, my turn. This is the theme for our new studios, which we're calling the Brick House, because there's a lot of brick involved. And actually, I should be honest, the truth is, and this is good in earthquake country, we're here in Northern California, it is a wood frame structure. Much better in an earthquake, but with a beautiful brick facade, and we're putting a lot of brick inside as well, because I like the feel of it. It is a more than 100-year-old building that we're in. It was an old. We're not in it yet, by the way. We're still in the Tech Guy Labs, the cottage here down the street. But the new 10,000 square foot studio will be in about a month, 2 months, and it was an old furniture factory at the turn of the last century. I remember when I first moved to Petaluma, it was a drugstore, Tuttle's Drugstore. It's been a number of other things since, but we're moving in. Very excited, and I'll let you know when we get in there. And it won't look too different. We're rebuilding the Tech Guy Labs in a part of the studio. So if you just tune in a couple of months and it looks pretty much the same, I want to do that so I don't disturb anybody. So we've been talking to Mike. He's on the line from Edinburgh, Scotland. And apparently, now I haven't heard about this happening in the States, although I wouldn't be surprised. But apparently it's happening a lot in Edinburgh. People are getting calls from somebody purporting to be from Microsoft saying, now why would Microsoft do this? We see there's some bad stuff on your computer. We'd like to help. You need to download this software. Folks, burn this into your brain. Anytime anybody online or off says, put this software on your computer, think twice, because a bad guy has to get you to run a program on your system. either with your knowledge or behind your back. But that all malware, all viruses, all of these attacks require a program to run on your computer. And the trick for these guys is to get you to do it. Sometimes they do it because they take advantage of flaws in the operating system that make it possible to do this. But more often than not, they trick you, either by posting on your screen a very credible warning, "You've been infected, download our antivirus tool right now," or through this more complicated but probably even more effective with the right audience scam of actually calling. Mike, do they sound like they're from Scotland, or do they sound like they're from somewhere else?
Oh no, it's definitely, it sounds like your typical Indian call center.
It probably is. I mean, it probably is. The only way this would work at a scale that would make it worthwhile is if you have hundreds of guys making these calls.
Well, that's the impression we're getting, and in fact, there's various articles now. The video on YouTube that you asked about, if you go on YouTube and search for Windows Service Center call scam, and my name, it's Mike with Bike, but there's lots of other sort of videos of other folk that have caught these folk at it. They're very convincing. They're very patient. I mean, you can see how they're effective because they take such pains about, and as you say, with novice users, stepping people through how to start the run command, type in event viewer, bring up the list of errors that that come up as a matter of course when you look at event viewer, and then saying, that shows just how critical things are with your computer, which of course to a novice user, it does look like that. All these red exclamation marks with error,
Right.
and some of them.
That's normal.
And then they convince you that, or you've now just go on to run and type in www.teamviewer or something like that. And they then, get you to remote access to your PC. And as I say, I know 3 people in Edinburgh of my acquaintance who have fallen victim to this, and it seems to be mushrooming. And what I don't understand is why more isn't being done about it, by the likes of Microsoft or...
What are they going to do? They can't... I mean, all they can do is do what you're doing, which is for us to get the word out. The problem is that... well, here's the real issue. I mean, there's been scammers for as long as there have been humans. In the old days, a con artist had to come up to you on the street. And it's always been a pretty similar scam to the Nigerian scams that are going around, which is you can make a lot of money, but first we have to go to your bank and get you to give me some money. That's just the oldest scam in the book. And they often prey on the elderly or the less computer literate. This scam is so much work, and takes so much time that either they have to have an army of people. That's probably why it comes from places like India. I wouldn't be surprised if these were actual former tech support people who perhaps are out of work and have signed on to another kind of a call center. So that's why they sound so credible. But there's so much work involved. They've got to get out of each and every victim some significant money. They've got to get credit card numbers. They've got to be able to use this, or it's not worth it. They need to make some big bucks from these people. So this is very much a individualized con game compared to the mass-marketed con game of Mac Defender and Antivirus 2009. But all of them are a huge problem. Apparently, Canada is getting this problem as well. So they're telling me in the chat room. I can't find your video. What is your account on YouTube? Maybe it's better if I just go to youtube.com/...
it's Mike with Bike, MikeWibike.
Well, that's easy. Mike with Bike. Okay, let me go there because it's probably easier to go there than through the search. And yeah, I think I found it. Windows Service Center. Ah, you know why? You Scots spell center funny.
All right.
That's why I couldn't find it. You've got it all confused. So is this something you recorded?
Yeah. Over. I mean, as I say, they're phoning so often that I just had to, just this last week, they phoned 3 times.
Oh my God, that's terrible. Well, Mike.
They phoned back. I asked them to phone back so that I could say, I was desperate to try and so that I could sort of tape a
well, I'm going to play this. It's 6 minutes 59 seconds, but can I play a few seconds of this for people to hear?
Sure.
Mike, I thank you for calling. I'll do it after the break. I want to take a little break here, but thank you for calling and raising the alarm. I really appreciate it. I've got the video here that Mike made. Let me play just a little bit of this. I haven't listened to it ahead of time. I don't know how easy it'll be to understand, but this is some of the call that actually came into Mike of one of these scammers trying to get him to install their malware. The phone's ringing.
I believe you understand that you had received a call from the Windows Service Center, and we are the associate of all the Windows operating system all over the world. And the reason why we are calling you because
the reason why we're calling is we've received a lot of error reports from the computer you're using. See, that'd be very credible to somebody who doesn't know any better. It's not very loud, and I apologize, and I know it's a little bit hard to understand. You can go to youtube.com/MikeWibike to hear more about this. Let me see if I got it all the way up.
Yeah.
Alright. And can we also icons in your screen?
They've switched over to a woman now. This is just, boy, I'm glad you recorded that, Mike. Please don't fall for that. Microsoft will not call you at your home, I promise you. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, a good day to you. Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. And this is the show where we talk about tech, not just the good, but the bad and the ugly, the scams, the malware. Try not to spend too much time on that. It's so depressing. I like to talk about the good stuff, too, in tech. If you want to talk with me, I'd love to hear from you. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my number, 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. Outside the U.S., you can use Skype, like Mike did. And Skype to that number won't cost you anything. Hey, I want to give some kudos to a fellow podcaster, a friend, a meteorologist named James Spann, who works in Alabama on television. He's a TV weatherman. And, of course, you remember we had terrible tornadoes just ripping through Alabama last week. Pretty amazing. It's ABC 3340, I guess. He stayed on the air tracking the tornadoes in real time using Ustream and Twitter, having people in the audience tweet him. He has 60,000 followers on Facebook, 26,000 on Twitter. In effect, telling him, here comes a tornado. We're here. It's here. It's here. And the value of these reports from social networks is just incalculable. He saved many, many lives. He used the hashtags on Twitter, #WeAreAlabama. And now he's got hashtags, and you should search Twitter if you want to see more about this. #ALNeeds and #ALHaves. So these are people who need something and people who have something. A fascinating way to use social networks for good. He is truly an impressive person and just an amazing fellow. He does a podcast you might be interested in called Weather Brains, if you're interested in meteorology. It's a podcast of meteorologists talking about weather. But what a hero. So there's something to cheer you up a little bit. The use of technology to save lives in the midst of just a terrible situation. He also has the Alabama Weather blog, ALABAMAWX.com, and was using that as well to track the storms as they went through the state. There is, of course, a great need in Alabama, and anybody who's listening who wants to help out can do so through the Red Cross. Amazon has a registry, which this is an interesting way to do it as well, the Alabama Tornado Relief and Support Registry. It's a wish list from people who need something. And what an interesting and direct way to help out. It was created by the Christian Service Mission in Birmingham. And if you want to donate, instead of just giving money, you could buy, say, some lunches to go or raisins or honey bears or grape jam or the kinds of things people need immediately and have it sent directly. I just think this is amazing. You know, so often when a disaster happens and you donate to the Red Cross, and certainly I wouldn't discourage that as well, but you don't get a sense of what exactly that money's been used for or how it's helped. This is very direct. I'm going to buy, some disposable razors. They need 100. They've received 13. Buy, something like that. That really, baby food, infant formula. This is just fantastic. I think this is another great use, a great example of how technology can be used very directly to make a difference. And Amazon's offering free shipping there for their part. Just really, really cool. So I hope, when we talk about these scams and these people are trying to rip us off and all the negatives that you hear about and having to do with the internet, I almost hate to talk about that because there's so much good, so much positive good that is done every single day. The internet has brought us so many wonderful boons that, and in cases of disaster like this, that we just cannot forget that. It's so easy to focus on the negative, and there's so much positive. Let's remember that too. I think sometimes when I talk to parents, I sometimes will talk to parents and kids about privacy online and protecting your kids online, and I always want to start by saying, look, the internet is great, and your kids need to know how to use it. You might be tempted just to turn it off. That's too dangerous. But that's not going to help them going into life. They need to know how to use it safely. And it's so important to remember. Let's go to Diamond Bar, California. We've got Ronald on the line, our next caller. Hi, Ronald. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Good day, Leo.
Good day, mate.
Hey, yeah. I'm interested in the ViewSonic ViewPad, and I understand it has the port for a phone, but there are no carriers for it. And I was wondering what you thought about using it as a phone in addition to some of the other apps like the Kindle and for web browsing.
You're not going to like my answer.
Okay.
I don't like, first of all, it's a Windows 7 tablet. We've seen Windows tablets for 10 years. I've bought so many of them. Bad idea. The only thing to do with a tablet, as far as I'm concerned, is to buy an operating system designed for touch from the ground up. So that might be the BlackBerry Playbook. That might be an Android tablet. But the truth is, maybe you don't like this. Maybe people who don't like Apple don't like me to say it, but it's the simple truth. The iPad is the only tablet to look at today. There is nothing even close in terms of quality of build, variety of applications, ease of use, intuitiveness. It's not even close. So I think this is a case where there are a lot of companies who have looked at Apple's success with the iPad and said, I want that. And they've rushed out a lot of products on different operating systems. The BlackBerry Playbook, beautiful hardware, nice operating system, no apps, doesn't even have email, no apps. The Androids, impressive, but really not, I don't think, ready for prime time. I think the Samsung Galaxy Tab is a nice tablet, and I'm an Android phone user. I like Android. There is nothing close to the iPad. And I think it would be a huge mistake to buy a Windows 7-based tablet. We've been there, done that. Terrible. Just terrible. So, one of the reasons they don't have a carrier deal is no carrier wants to take a chance with the tablet, with the ViewPad. it doesn't, they know they're not going to sell any. In fact, we're starting to think that sales numbers for the Android-based tablets like the Samsung are really bad. Meanwhile, yesterday in China, the iPad 2 went on sale and sold out within hours. They cannot keep these in stock, and there's a good reason. If you want a Windows 7 tablet, I would look at least do yourself a favor and look at a laptop-based convertible, something like the Lenovo X220, which turns into a notebook, has a notebook keyboard. If you need a stylus to use a tablet, if it's an operating system not designed from the ground up to be touched, if it's Windows, I'm telling you, just trust me, save your money. If you need a tablet, buy an iPad. That will change. There will be strong competition, probably by the end of the year, but it isn't there now. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
You come around here unexpected with a list of things that I should be.
Sure.
You should dye your hair this way.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy, the bossy tech guy. Hey, here he is, all the way from Disneyland, which is located in Manhattan, Florida, North. Sir. The GizWiz himself, Dick T. Bartolo, Mad Magazine's maddest writer, and for many years a gadget hound of good standing. You see him on World News Now on the ABC network every month. You hear him on many other radio shows because the guy has no loyalty to me whatsoever.
Yeah, right.
And no loyalty. No, I'm just teasing. And he's a good friend. We do a podcast together called The Weekly Daily GizWiz. Dick T. Bartolo.
Leo, how you doing?
Very well. How are you, Dickie D?
I'm good. Now, listen, being unmarried, you have to answer this question. Tomorrow is Mother's Day.
Yes.
Is a husband required to give the wife a Mother's Day gift?
Only if the wife is a mom.
Oh, okay.
But so you better believe it. I've got big responsibilities tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Because my wife, of course, is the mother of my children. It's nice how that worked out.
Very well.
Yeah, it saves me a lot of time. Only have to send out one card.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I tried to find something that would be techno mom related, and I remembered the Joy scale. So it involves work for mom because it's a kitchen scale that can do pounds and ounces and grams and dry weight and liquid ingredients.
Dick, are you trying to get me divorced? If I give Jennifer a scale, a kitchen scale for Mother's Day?
Yeah. No, you know what, Leo? Give her this and tape to the bottom a
diamond.
$1,000 restaurant gift certificate.
Okay.
And just say, Jennifer, the scale is really just the packaging.
Yes. So it's called the Joy, Joy scale?
Joy, the Joy scale. It's from Aid, Germany. And what it is, Leo, it's bizarre. It's a kitchen scale with a built-in iPod docking station.
Oh, well, okay, that sounds better.
Okay, you see, because women like to listen to music while they're cooking. So you don't need an elaborate sound system in the kitchen. So it sort of combines two gadgets into one. It's actually very good looking. The scale part is a clear piece of plate glass, and the speaker is under it. The sound is good for its size. If you plug it into an AC outlet, then the iPod, it also becomes a charging station for the iPod.
Now, Dr. Mom in our chat room says, if my husband gave me that for Mother's Day, I'd brain him with my frying pan.
She could hit him with the scale.
That's pretty heavy duty. It looks like it might work.
Oh, okay. Even with an iPod docking station, Dr. Mom, I'm shocked. 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 Do you hear me? There's cooking going on in this kitchen. I'm shocked.
Now, actually, this might be kind of pricey because it's German.
Well, it's $100.
I guess that's okay for an iPod
and don't forget, tomorrow's Mother's Day, so even if you have Amazon Super Double Futuristic Prime, it ain't coming by Mother's Day.
Why do they put Mother's Day on a Sunday?
Yeah, exactly. And why don't we have some warning? Why doesn't someone tell us?
Is your mother still with us?
No, she's not.
Oh, so
she's not. She's in Petaluma. No, she's not. No, she's not. She's not on. No,
not on
she's
this
looking
planet.
down on us.
She's looking down on us as she did in life. So,
Yeah.
so-
See, fortunately, you have your mother looking down on you in life. Well, we've got all bases covered.
I feel bad because I talked to Mom today, and I forgot to say Happy Mother's Day. And I'm sure she's watching. Mom, I don't know what I was thinking. Happy Mother's Day. And then,
Leo, when that next $10 a month Netflix subscription comes, she knows it's love.
Don't tell her it was only $10.
Oh, sorry. That $1,000 Netflix subscription.
Hey, I sent her a TV and a DVD player 8 years ago. That should count for something.
Oh, yeah, and an internet radio.
Oh, I did
was
send her that.
5
That's
years
right,
ago.
yeah.
It's like, oh, Leo, you're showering that woman. You're ruining that woman.
Actually, I could tell the truth because I gave my mom an iPad, which she loves, and she plays that. There's a game on there. It's like Farmville. It's called We Rule, where you plant crops and you harvest crops. She loves that game. And the thing is, as with all these games, the game is free, but if you want to speed it up, you can buy something called Mojo, and then the Mojo speeds it up. Well, Mom, I stopped playing the game, Mom, and somebody keeps buying more Mojo, like $20 a week worth of Mojo. So I think I am giving the gift that keeps on giving.
It's a Mojo junkie.
It's Mojo for Mom. So I guess, that's a little extra.
Now. You're off the hook.
She's using my iTunes account to buy Mojo. Dick is on the web at GizWiz, GIZWIZ.biz. He's got one of those very rare rhyming websites. That's pretty good. GizWiz.biz. When you go there, there's a brand new What the Heck Is It game you can play.
Absolutely.
Chance to win a autographed copy of Mad Magazine. Just click that big button that says, "What the heck is it?" Look at that. And there's a picture of it. I don't know what the heck it is. Oh, I know what that is.
Yeah.
That's one of those.
You're very good at this.
Yeah. That's one of those.
6 years, I think you came close on one of them.
See, you're tricky because you took a picture of it upside down. You
how
use
do you know
that,
that?
You use that to press. This is how they make donuts. It's a donut hole maker.
Well, I can't comment because I don't want to give anything away.
Yeah. Well,
No,
if you
I
think
can't
you know
say
what it
thanks.
is, go to gizwiz.biz. The 12 correct answers, the first 12 correct answers, get an autographed copy of Mad Magazine. But 24 folks with the wrong answer get it just because they were funny.
Yeah, we like wrong. We like wrong.
How many right ones did you get last month?
Only got 5.
So, yeah, see, he's smart. He makes them hard. That way he doesn't have to give away so many copies of Mad Magazine. What was that thing?
It's a way to hold items on a tiny little point when you're painting them.
Oh, it makes sense. Sure.
Okay, so
It's a bench cookie cone.
yeah, exactly. And people are wonderful. Smokeless ashtray with a cool design. I think it's the ball holder for Leo's ball. No wonder they keep deflating.
I guess got a point.
Yeah, Darth Vader's yarmulke. People are very funny.
Gizwiz.biz. Dick, stick around. We'll do our weekly daily Gizwiz show right after the radio show. Well, a good day to you. How are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. And now it's time to talk about tech for the next couple hours at 8888 Ask Leo. That's my phone number. If you have a little comment, a question, a thought about technology, and anything with a chip in it too, by the way, not just computers, not just the internet, but cell phones. We talk a lot about them. Home theater. Scott Wilkinson will be joining us in half an hour to talk about that. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the United States. Outside the U.S., you can just use Skype out and call that number. It won't cost you a thing. 8888 Ask Leo. The iPad 2 went on sale in China on Friday. And it sold out almost immediately. And I'm seeing that 4 were injured in a fight at the Beijing Apple store trying to grab an iPad. A glass door was smashed, a near riot I mean, that's not something you'd ever want to see, but it is a testament to the desirability of the iPad. I was talking to somebody at the gym this morning who said, well, tell me, Honeycomb, is it ready for prime time? I said, and I have to say this, I said it yesterday on the show. We were talking to somebody. Right now, there's nothing, not even close to the iPad. The iPad owns this space. And it created it. Let's not forget that for 10 years, Bill Gates and Microsoft have been really pushing the idea of tablets. I can remember going to Comdex. It's an old computer trade show that is no longer in Las Vegas. Probably it was 2004, 2003. I mean, 7 or 8 years ago. And Microsoft spent millions to construct, in the parking lot of the Las Vegas Convention Center, to construct a suburban home. It was like the Wizard of Oz. It was like it dropped out of the sky. Boom, in the parking lot, there's a house. And it, big Microsoft sign on the front, and it's one of their booths, I guess. So you go in, and inside it's like the Stepford Wives. There's a fake mom, a fake dad, a fake brother and sister in this house, each one of them with a Microsoft tablet. Dad's in the living room watching the game, and he's got the tablet. And this is before Twitter. I don't know what he was doing. Maybe I don't know what he was doing in 2004. Mom's in the kitchen. All right, it's a little sexist. Mom's in the kitchen with her tablet looking up recipes while she cooks a fine, hearty meal for her family. Brother's in his bedroom listening to music on his Microsoft tablet. Sis is doing her homework on her Microsoft tablet. And they spent millions promoting the idea that people would want to have tablets and work with them. They promoted it like crazy. And they couldn't sell any of them for years. Apple comes along and must have kind of both gratified Bill Gates because he had the vision and frustrated the heck out of him. Apple comes along in 2010 and they can't keep them in stock. So what's the difference between the iPad and these tablets that everybody'd been making for years? Well, for one thing, Apple is using an operating system that was designed from the ground up for a touch interface. Microsoft had grafted touch onto a desktop interface. They're still doing it. If you go and and this is what was my recommendation for a caller yesterday who wanted to buy the new Acer tablet, which is based on Windows 7. No, we've seen this. You don't want it. You don't want it. You want something designed from the ground up to be touch. That means there are choices. If you don't want Apple, there's Android. There's this Honeycomb. And the BlackBerry has this QNX-based BlackBerry Playbook. And both of them, the hardware is great. It's very similar to the Apple hardware. But there is a kind of hard-to-describe element that's missing. It's just a fluidity and naturalness and intimacy that's just missing that the iPad has down. Now, will companies catch up? Sure, they caught up with the iPhone. Well, almost. They're catching up. It took how long? 4 years. I don't think it'll take 4 years in tablets, but it's not going to be this year. It's not going to be this year. And I think that the fact that they are beating each other up in Beijing to buy these kind of shows you the success. The lines started 4 hours before the stores in Beijing and Shanghai opened. They sold out within hours. And we've seen this all over the world. A huge success. And the success of the iPhone continues. According to ZDNet, the Between the Lines column, Larry Dignan writes this column, T-Mobile, which is kind of the fourth cell phone company, the one kind of in the rear, lost 471,000 customers in the fourth quarter, or first quarter. January, February, March. Almost 500,000 customers. 318,000 the quarter before that. 77,000 a year ago. That's a lot of people leaving T-Mobile. I use a T-Mobile phone, and T-Mobile I don't think is a bad company. I think the quality is fine. The service is good. I don't think so much that they're leaving T-Mobile because they don't like T-Mobile. I think they're going to Verizon and AT&T, and they're buying iPhones. Verizon activated 2.2 million iPhones in the first quarter, and their premier Android phone just 260,000. AT&T activated 3.6 million iPhones. That's 4.8 million for the quarter. Now, it's still interesting. Google claims 350,000 Android phones are activated every day. That's far more. And everybody agrees that Android, in terms of number of phones in the market, will surpass Apple sometime soon. In fact, the Android App Store will be bigger than Apple's App Store probably later this summer. So I think that the iPhone is seeing some real and genuine competition. And while I do have an iPhone and use it, I prefer my Android. I actually use a T-Mobile G2X, which is one of the most recent Android phones. One of the reasons I like it is a dual-core phone. 2 processors, much like the new iPad 2. And there are only a few phones on the market that have 2 processors. The iPhone does not. And it is noticeably faster, snappier. You wouldn't think we'd be doing a lot of multitasking on something we carry around in our breast pocket. But yes, in fact, these are for many of us, our primary computing device now, aren't they, these phones? So speed, amount of memory, variety of applications, all of those, ease of use, become very, very important. It's not just a phone anymore. In fact, the only negative I have with these Android phones compared to an iPhone is the battery life. And primarily that's because I can't turn the darn thing off. I spend so much time with that thing on that I can only, 4 or 5 hours later, I can't make a call. iPhone does have better battery life in general. And there are more cases for the iPhone that add to the battery. Microsoft's Windows 7 phone, the dark horse there. Somebody's asking me Year of Linux in the chat room about that. We don't know what the sales are. Microsoft, even though they had their quarterly earnings report this week, did not say how many phones they sold. That's usually a bad sign. So one analyst says a mere 350,000 phones. That doesn't seem right. We're sure it's more. I'm pretty sure it's more than that. And with the deal that they've made with Nokia, Nokia is going to start making phones with Windows Phone built into it. I think the Windows Phone operating system is actually pretty darn good. So I do think that unlike a Microsoft Windows 7-based tablet, I think a Windows Phone 7 is a pretty compelling phone, especially for people moving to their first smartphone. But unfortunately, hardly any apps. And don't you buy these phones for what you can do with the apps, really? It's interesting to watch this happen because it's very much what happened in the desktop market, too. It's just that it's like the desktop wars of the 90s all over again. Apple's got a lead, but Microsoft's coming on strong. And look out, here comes Google, too. Use your phone, whatever phone you've got, to call 8888 Ask Leo. We'll take your calls next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Happy Mother's Day to you all. I forgot to say that. Yes, I call Mom. Of course I did this morning. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Call my wife, too. Said Happy Mother's Day to her. She's back east. So you didn't have to call her. I didn't have to call her in the house. She's back east. Visiting our daughter. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms in the audience today. Couldn't do it without you, that's for sure. Let's get to the phones. 8888 Ask Leo's the number. You know, if you don't, and Dr. Mom in the chat room, who's also obviously a mom, happy Mother's Day to you too. If you don't know the phone number, best thing to do is remember the website, techguylabs.com, because that has not only has the phone number on it, but it also has our chat room link, links to all the shows that we've done. This is episode 768. Audio from all of those shows, too. So if you want to hear what people were talking about in computing going back to 2004, you can. We probably, who knows what we were probably talking about, Microsoft tablet PCs. Who knows what we were talking about? 8888 Ask Leo, that's the phone number. Now, Gail in Los Angeles, you're first on the line today. Hi, Gail. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. Welcome.
Oh, good. You know, I'm a computer semi-illiterate, but I do have a question. I just replaced a Dell dual drive tower and a Mac 27-inch with all the highest power memory is coming. So my question is,
Did you just get it? So you got the brand new Mac?
Yes, well, it's coming in 6 weeks. I just ordered.
That's good. Your timing couldn't have been better. It just came out this Tuesday.
Oh, so that's the best thing I could have gotten, right?
It is. And that's why, by the way, it's delayed. You must have added something, or maybe even put an SSD in there, because they are shipping immediately unless you do something custom.
I did everything custom. The highest memory.
Top of the line all the way. You spent some dough.
Yes.
Well, you'll be, believe me, Gail, you'll be blown away. This thing is spectacular.
Oh, good. And it's good for gaming, too.
Well, yes, with some caveats, because gaming is still very much a PC pursuit. A lot of game companies write their games for PCs first. That's starting to change. One of the first things you'll do is sign up for Steam. And Steam is a gaming marketplace that's run by a company called Valve. And the good news about Steam is steampowered.com is that more and more games are being released simultaneously. Portal 2 is a good example. Simultaneously on both the Mac and the PC. So you don't have to feel, Mac users no longer have to feel like kind of red-headed stepchildren of the gaming industry. And that's, I think, very good news. What kind of games do you play, Gail?
Okay, it would be World of Warcraft and then Dragon Age, too.
Yeah. World of Warcraft will be awesome. Frankly, it's not particularly demanding anyway. Let me see. Dragon Age 2. Do they have that on the Mac? I'm trying to check here. Yeah, I play that on my Xbox 360. Looks like that's Windows only for the moment. But it will only be a matter of time. That is a fun game. I love Dragon Age.
Oh, good.
But it is not Mac yet. So here's the deal on that. You can run it, but what you'll need to do is put Windows on your new iMac. And Windows
$200.
Yeah, good. So you're kind of golden. It is certainly, the hardware is more than adequate to run Dragon Age 2 fantastically. I do that. I have a Mac Pro with an i7, very similar chip to what's in yours. Same video that's in yours. And all the games, if I want to run a Windows game, like for instance, I play StarCraft is available on both Mac and Windows, but I for some reason I like it on Windows better, so I play it on Windows, and I turn up all the textures, everything, the very max, and it just sails. And it should be the same on your beautiful 27-inch iMac. So if you have Windows on it, there's no game you can't play. You've spent a lot of money, more than you spent on that Dell, but that thing should last you quite some time as a very high-end machine.
That's wonderful. And I have 2 hard drives on my tower. One of them still opens and the other doesn't. So they're going to transfer the one hard drive, but the other, will I be able to transfer it?
Yeah, they may. It just depends what's wrong with it, And so you're going to bring it to the Apple Store and have them transfer the data over?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they'll probably be able to figure out if there's any way to get the data off, they'll figure it out. It's hard for me. I can't diagnose why you can't open it, but it may merely be a small error on it that could easily be worked around with the proper tools, and then all your data will be available. You do back it up, though, right, Gail?
Yes, and I don't have that carbonite that you suggested yet, but I listen to your show all the time, and I'm learning.
So, Gail, you say you're not so computer literate, but you just bought about the top-of-the-line computer you could get, and it sounds like you're going to have a great time with it.
Well, you've given me confidence now that I will.
Yes, you bought a beautiful machine. That 27-inch display. I like having a big display. I think it improves your productivity. I use 27 inches at home. While I do use, when I'm on the road, a little 11-inch display. I really like having a big display. It means you can, have a web browser and your word processor open. It's very easy to have multiple things open. And gaming, of course, is much more realistic the larger the display. So I think it sounds like you're in good shape.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate this, and thank you for taking my call.
Gail, great to talk to you. I'm kind of jealous. I just bought a Mac Pro a few months ago. I can't really justify getting that new iMac, but they did some interesting things. One of the things they did with that new iMac, the one you got particularly, is they put 2 Thunderbolt ports into it. Now, it's an all-in-one. The iMacs are an all-in-one. That means you already have a display built into it. But you could attach a second 27-inch or 30, or in fact, you could attach 2 more displays if you wished onto that. But going forward, Thunderbolt will also be very useful for very fast hard drives, video, and other things. That is kind of future-proofing in a way. When you buy, when you buy a computer that is brand new with the latest chip, that's what's in this, and the latest video card, and the latest ports, you spend more money, but what you're also doing is saying, I think I'm going to keep this for longer. You're future-proofing it somewhat. And because Macintoshes in general, and the iMac specifically, are not really upgradable, you could add memory, but that's about it. You do want to do that, I think. That Thunderbolt means that you can, for instance, get faster hard drives on there. You could do stuff, in a way, upgrade it externally. So I think that's a good purchase. It's very expensive. She spent probably, I'm guessing, well over $3,000, probably more closer to $4,000 on that machine, which is probably twice what you'd spend for a comparable PC. If all you were going to do is run Windows, I would say probably not the best purchase. But if you want to run Windows and Mac, and you want to run it top of the line, and get great support too, there's nothing you can do better. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, talking about computers, the internet, cell phones, camcorders, MP3 players, and as always, at this time, home theater. Scott Wilkinson is here. He's the editor-in-chief of the Ultimate AV Magazine, ultimateavmag.com, and columnist at Home Theater Magazine. He joins us every week to talk about home theater at this time. Hi, Scott.
Hey, Leo. Happy Mother's Day to all you moms out there.
Yay. Happy Mother's Day.
Yep.
So,
as soon as we're done here, I'm going to head off to brunch with my mom.
If you're a good son, you would buy Mom a home theater system.
Absolutely.
I bought Mom some years ago a TV with a built-in DVD player. That's as good as it gets, Mom, right there. And a Netflix subscription, which I have renewed like a dutiful son every year on her birthday for the last 4 or 5 years. So
very good.
I think that's a good thing. She watches.
Oh, absolutely.
She gets to watch movies. It's kind of fun. It gives us something to talk about because she says, "Well, what should I watch next?" So we get to talk about movies, and that's a lot of fun.
What should I put in my queue?
Yeah, that's kind of fun. And Netflix actually has a nice feature where you can. I don't think it's well known, but you can follow people on Netflix. You can see what they're watching if they let you.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
There's a kind of a Twitter-like social feature, which is unknown to me. So
cool.
Anyway, welcome. What can we talk about today?
Thank you. I actually got an email on my new questioning email, which everyone can send to me at scott@techguylabs.com. I've got a new account that is working a lot better than the old one. And I got one from Frank Ireland in Florida, who had actually called you a couple weeks ago asking about Roku.
Yeah.
Roku XDS. He has this Roku XDS box, which is their highest-end box. And he's got an older Philips rear projection TV. And he was confused about the connections that you can make. The TV is older. It's, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years old, something like that. It's got DVI, which can only accept 1080i input for high definition. It's got 2 component inputs, one of which can accept 1080i or 480p, which is standard definition progressive, and another one that can only accept 480i. And he said, but I've tried to connect my Roku box, the HDMI, out to the DVI input on the TV, which all that requires is just a simple cable, adapter-type cable with a HDMI plug on one end, DVI plug on the other end, or HDMI to DVI adapter. Very simple, easy to get. We were talking about it in the chat room before now. And just plug the HDMI output from the Roku to the DVI input on the TV. It should be fine. But it's not. Why not? Well, apparently, the Roku XDS box can only output 1080p or 720p in high definition. It cannot output 1080i. But the TV cannot accept 1080p or 720p for that matter. So he's stuck. The only thing he can do is send standard definition to the TV via component, and he's stuck with that. So there's two answers to the question if he wants to watch high definition. One is to get a new TV, and I really do recommend that. I mean, yes, it's expensive, but you're going to have a much better experience. This Philips TV is old. It's a CRT even TV, I think, which is pretty old technology, and it's probably seen its better days. So, that's what I would recommend. Otherwise, you might trade in the Roku. I must admit, I don't know if the lesser Roku boxes will output 1080i, but
this is puzzling to me because when the Rokus came out at first, they were not 1080p. They were 720p and 1080i.
Yes.
And the 1080p was an upgrade that they had offered. And now I'm looking on the site, and they say 1080p for both the XD and the XDS.
What about the very basic Roku?
The basic does not have 1080p, so I don't know if that means it's 1080i or only 720p.
If it's only 720p...
So you're saying his TV can only handle that one input, 1080i?
That's correct.
Interesting.
That's correct. And again, because it's so old.
That's rare.
It is rare.
You wouldn't get an HD TV today that had that limit.
No. In fact, when I looked up the
I think he should just get a new TV.
I do too. That's my first recommendation. I looked up the manual of that TV, and it was talking about the DVI input and how DVI is this brand new thing.
Right.
And it's not quite standardized yet, so you might have some trouble. And I'm just going, well, yeah, it's not a brand new thing anymore. In fact, it's old right now. So yeah, my first recommendation is to upgrade your TV.
I would think that the component out of the Roku would be 1080i, but I don't know.
I would think so too, but apparently not.
Doesn't work.
Nope.
Yeah. Okay.
Nope. Sadly not.
Yeah. It's interesting, all of these 720IP, all this stuff, I think is very confusing to people. Just to kind of briefly, television in the first 50 years was all interlaced because they didn't think TVs had the capability of playing back the bandwidth that they could put out. So what they sent out, and in fact, if you watch standard definition television, even to this day, they're putting out what they call 60 fields per second. And what it is it's 30 times 2. The first 30 is half the screen, is I guess the odd lines.
The odd numbered lines,
and
typically.
The second 30 is the even number lines. So every second they'll get 30 of, complete screens, but it'll be composed of half and half.
Right.
And so that's interlaced. And it looks terrible if you watch it on a standard computer screen or high-def TV because they're progressive. They expect 30 frames a second of everything.
Right, or 60 frames a second.
Or
even.
60 of everything. Well, they'll double if they do 60. But they don't expect this interlacing. When they show interlacing, action looks terrible. You can actually see these kind of weird lines.
Weird, jaggy lines. Now, it depends upon the TV's processor, how well it de-interlaces an interlaced signal. Now, when you're watching broadcast TV, broadcast high-definition TV, that's what you're seeing. What's coming in is 1080i, 1080 lines interlaced.
In most cases. I think some people are doing P, but you're right. In most cases, it's I.
Now,
broadcast, you're right. But if it's on cable, you don't know what you're getting.
Well, yeah, and even on broadcast, most channels are broadcasting at 1080i.
Right.
A few, like ABC and ESPN and Fox, I believe, are broadcasting at 720p, which means 720 lines top to bottom, all in one pass, as opposed to 1080i, which is 1080 lines. The odd numbered ones first, 540 lines of the odd line number 1, 3, 5, 7, so on, and followed by the even numbered lines 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on. This is called temporal compression. It only requires half the bandwidth to transmit a signal because you're only sending half the signal at a time.
I remember only 2 years ago, we started doing a video podcast called Mac Break, and Alex Lindsay, my crazy partner, bought from Lucasfilm a very expensive camera that did 1080p, and we made it in 1080p. The only problem with that is no one could watch it because it takes so much process. Or you know, in a few years ago, nobody had a computer that was capable of watching it.
Now, was it 1080p at 24 frames per second?
No, it was 30 frames, 1080p.
Okay, that's a very high bandwidth.
It's a lot of data. And so that's where all of this interlacing, as you say, it's a form of compression called temporal compression, where we only send you half the picture at a time, and then your TV puts it together. Or actually, your eye puts it together.
Well, your TV actually, modern TVs put it together. They have a video processor inside that de-interlaces.
Right.
If they get an interlace signal in, they de-interlace it. And one of the things we test for in our TV reviews is how well the TV's processor does that de-interlacing.
Very important, because if you get
really
if you want to watch standard definition on an HD TV, it has to handle it.
That's exactly right.
Scott's the guy. Email him, scott@techguylabs.com, and read him on ultimateavmag.com. Scott, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Scott also does a great podcast, which I always forget to plug, called Home Theater Geeks. And you can get that podcast on my podcast network. That's probably why I forget to plug it. It seems so self-serving. TWiT.tv/HTG for Home Theater Geeks, and that's where you can subscribe to it. He does it live every Monday afternoon, 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern at live.twit.tv. That's the live video stream that we send out so that people can watch it live. And tomorrow he's going to be talking to John Iverson, who is the web monkey for Ultimate AV Magazine. And they'll be debating streaming movies versus physical media. You know, it doesn't seem to me like, I mean, there's pros and cons on both sides. It doesn't seem like it's an either-or situation. I think there's nothing better looking if you've got a great TV than a Blu-ray disc of your favorite movie. I mean, it's just amazing. On the other hand, the convenience of being able to get these movies in streaming is fantastic. I watch streaming all the time on Roku. I'm a big Roku fan on my big screen TV. In fact, I was watching last night. I just love the ability to get a movie the minute I want it, whenever I think of it. And so that's I think, a huge advantage to streaming. Movie industry likes streaming because it's harder to pirate. Give me a disc and I can steal it. But streams, especially if it's coming through a separate device like a Blu-ray player or a Roku box, very difficult to capture. Very difficult. Now, the movie industry is going smack dab in the face of the internet service providers, who now are offering such draconian bandwidth caps that there's some question whether you'll be able to watch movies much longer. 56% of Americans now have internet data caps. That's because AT&T turned their caps on this week. So Comcast allows you 250 gigabytes a month. AT&T on their DSL, 150 gigabytes a month. On UVerse, 250. Now, that seems like a lot. In fact, Comcast says, oh, don't worry. They say 99% of Comcast customers use significantly less than 250 gigabytes a month. Significantly less. But I have to point out, that's because we're only just now at the beginning of the streaming era. And if you watch a movie every night in high def, if you listen to internet radio, or worse, watch internet video every day, if you download music, games, podcasts, pretty soon that cap's not going to seem like so much. And as somebody who makes his living offering downloadable media, I'm a little worried. Yes, I am. If you watched TWiT Live, which is a live stream I talked about, live.twit.tv, if you watch that 8 hours a day, as many people do, for instance, CNN, they just have it on in the background, you'd hit those bandwidth caps pretty quick. So it's not, it seems like a lot. It's not. It's only a lot now. It's only more than most people use now because most people are still just getting email and surfing the web. And, of course, I have to think that this is what AT&T and Comcast, when they gather together in their secret boardrooms, are talking about. Yes,
We can't allow them to continue to stream video. They'll put us out of business. How can we stop that, Smithers?
Well, I think if you put a cap on it to keep them from doing that.
Excellent.
It's pretty obvious what they're up to. They're smart, though. They're doing it now before anybody notices. And then a year from now, when you say, oh, I'd like to watch more movies on Netflix, instead of paying for an expensive Comcast subscription, or, oh, I'd like to use HBO Go and pay HBO directly instead of Comcast. I'm sorry. Calm down. John in Walla Walla, Washington. John Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Yes, Leo. I wanted to say that probably the one gift you give your mother every day of the year is unlimited tech support, and that's probably worth.
Oh, if only that were true. Poor mom. She has to beg me for tech support. I say, oh, Mom, I'd love to talk to you, but I don't want to walk through computer problems with you today. It's the cobbler's kids have no shoes. You know that.
Yes.
But I'll help any mom on the radio show.
So many questions, so little Leo.
Yeah. No, I do try to help her. And Mom is pretty, well, the nice thing is Mom is very technically literate. She has an iMac. She has a MacBook. She has an iPad. She has an iPod. And she uses them all. Yeah.
Good for her.
So what can I do for you? Happy Mother's Day, John.
Thank you. Happy Mother's Day to you.
I don't know why us guys are saying Happy Mother's Day, but everybody has a mother.
No, but everybody's been doing it.
Okay, what can I do for you?
My problem is kind of, I think it's complex. I had a power outage, and when I got back to the computer, I lost all my icons on my desktop.
Uh-oh.
And I can't figure out a way to get them back.
Does the computer operate in other respects normally, or is it only feel like it's halfway there? Did it lose its mind?
Well, it didn't lose everything. It still has the list. If I go into Start menu and get all programs, I can find the programs and manually pull down menus and get the programs that way.
When you do that, do they run?
Yes.
Okay. So it sounds, it's hard for me to be sure, but it sounds like you either are logged into the wrong account, or sometimes if the profile gets messed up, Windows will create a generic account and log you into that. Are you logged in as yourself? When you click the Start menu, do you see your account name there?
Well, I couldn't tell you that for sure. I'm the only one on the computer, so
yeah, but Windows, if it had a problem, see, okay, here's the deal. A sudden outage like that can be problematic if Windows or the computer was writing to the hard drive, and in the middle of the write, the power goes out. It will spew bad data across some portion of that drive. That can absolutely cause a problem. It doesn't mean that you've lost everything. In fact, most things will still be okay, but it can cause a problem. It also may have, when that happened, and it rebooted, it may have launched you into a mode, a safe mode, or a mode where you're not logged into your own account. So the couple of things to do, first of all, just to make sure that it just didn't turn off the icons by accident, right-click on the desktop, and you'll see a view item, and you want to make sure that you say show desktop icons, because there is, in fact, a setting that turns off the icons.
Okay.
So if it's, I don't know why that would have been flipped, but it could be. Again, when it spews data, it's unknown what it'll happen. And maybe it put a 1 in the hide desktop icons entry in the registry just by chance, like a perfect shot. It just boom, and that's what happened. But unlikely that's the only problem you have.
Well, I mistakenly used one of those registry cleaner things that I downloaded, and after that, now when you turn it off, and it comes back, it says system disk is not available. Replace the system disk and press any key.
Yeah, it's probably not the registry cleaner. This is the side effect of the power failure. Your hard drive did exactly what I just said, which is spewed data as it was writing, and it's damaged the drive. Good news, your data is probably all still there, most of it anyway. Bad news, you can't boot the computer. So a couple of things you can do. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, get your handy-dandy Windows install disk. You do have one, don't you? Get your handy-dandy Windows. If you don't, another problem entirely. You might have a restore partition. Depends on the manufacturer. Check with your manufacturer to see how they expect you to reinstall. I personally strongly suggest anytime you buy a computer, you get, even if you have to pay an extra $50, you get a Windows install disk with it for times like this. If you have a Windows install disk, the first thing to do is to run it. And as you run it, as if you're installing Windows, right before it actually installs, it'll say, whoa, wait a minute. I see you have a copy of Windows on there. Would you like me to repair it? Oh, that'd be a good start. So what that does is it goes through all the Windows system files, looks at them, says, that one's missing, that one's damaged, fixes it. That may be enough to fix everything. Chances are it's not, but it's certainly the first thing to do. If that doesn't fix everything, in other words, if you cannot then boot without the install disk, it probably again, this depends if you're a do-it-yourselfer or not. If you're not a tech person, bring it in to a good tech person, and they'll know what to do. What they will probably do is pull that drive out of the machine. First of all, make sure the machine isn't damaged. Sometimes you can have hardware damage from a power failure. Pull your data off the drive, put a new one in, install Windows, restore your data. You'll be good to go. Or you can do it yourself. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888. Ask Leo. Joe in Oklahoma, big storm hit his computer. Fried his router. Right there, you know, okay, we had a bad power surge, right? The router got fried because this often happens. The power's out for 4 days. When it comes back on, it frequently comes on in a wave. If you think of, if you use the metaphor of water in a pipe, electricity is somewhat like that. And when the power comes back, it's like a big surge of water at high pressure. And what happens with electrical components, particularly solid-state electrical components, is that high-pressure electricity, boom, can blow out chips, can fry chips. So if your router went out, all right, your router was connected to the computer, that surge didn't stop at the router. It's a tidal wave. It goes right into the computer and probably fried some other components. Video's not working. Maybe your video card got damaged. Obviously not completely because you wouldn't see anything on the screen, but you can't play back video. Maybe that's it. The problem is very difficult for me to tell exactly what's wrong. You're going to have to bring this in, Joe, because somebody's going to have to take a look. It could be something simple. It could be a loose cable. Video cards, you know, when they put video on the screen, especially in older computers, they do it a little differently than they put the Windows desktop on the screen. Because older computers didn't have enough power to play back video in the same way that they display the desktop, they would do something called overlay video. They would essentially blast the video directly into memory. It could be that, and that's a checkbox, by the way. It could be just somehow that got unchecked. It could be as simple as that. But that's why you got to bring it in. You're going to have to bring it to a tech person who can sit down and look at all the options. You may well have to replace your video card. That wouldn't be surprising. If that power was enough to fry the router, probably other things got fried. Michelle in Corona, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, okay, real quick. I'm using Windows XP and I have not antivirus. About the last 3 times, Microsoft has done their updates, I guess on Tuesdays. On Thursday, I'll see in my taskbar that the nod icon is orange, meaning it needs my attention. I go to it, it says it can't update the signature base, reason why I need updates to be installed. So I go to the update center. Sure enough, there's a bunch there to update. So I do it, and like out of 17, like half will fail. So I'm like, okay, I go back, do it again, restart my computer, turns on, everything's fine, and then Windows will be doing the updates again, and I have to restart it again, and it seems fine. But I don't understand why it's failing.
Not sure. It's certainly you're doing the right thing, which is not giving up. You're being nice and tenacious and saying, no, I'm going to get all those updates, and
it's set to do it automatically, so that's all cool.
Yeah. I'm not sure either, to be honest with you. I haven't seen that happen before, but it may be, sometimes an antivirus needs a manual update. It can't just automatically download the updates. Usually that means that the antivirus engine itself needs to be updated. I guess all I can say is make sure automatic updates for both Nod 32 and Windows are turned on. Make sure you have plenty of free space in your hard drive. And it may be, in fact, that some issues are going on with your drive. And it's kind of hard for me to tell exactly. So I'm not sure. It's not a Windows Update issue, folks. Windows Update's working fine. I'm looking at the chat room right now. By the way, Michelle, seeing what they say. It is a NOD32 issue. I guess you could call NOD32, and I'm just not sure what's going on in terms of the NOD32 updates. Your Windows updates are going fine, but your NOD32 aren't. It does sound like there's some issues with permissions, perhaps, in your hard drive. But I'll be honest, I just don't know. I just don't know. Sometimes, I apologize. I would love to be the magical solution for every problem that happens, but a lot of times, unless I can actually put my hands on the computer, I can't really tell. I'd have to mess around with it. And the last two calls are a good example of you need to mess around with it. One suggestion I'm getting from the chat room, which is a good one, is to uninstall NOD32 and reinstall it. The nice thing about the way NOD32 works, it's account-based. So you log out of your account, uninstall, log into your account, reinstall. Usually that's pretty straightforward. That might be a good idea. The orange you're seeing from NOD32, according to our chat room, says it's because there's a Windows update that needs to be done. Maybe that's the issue. And, of course, your subscription has to be up to date. Once, it's funny, I got a call from the NOD32 folks. Somebody was really upset because their system got bit by a virus and they had NOD32 installed, and we investigated. We found out that they hadn't paid for NOD32 in 3 years. Unfortunately, this is the case with most antiviruses these days. It's a yearly subscription, and as soon as your subscription lapses, and they warn you many times, but if it lapses, you won't be getting virus updates. There's no point in having an antivirus that is not getting updated, because the real viruses you have to worry about are the new ones. Those are the ones that are spreading so fast. So if your subscription is out of date, do pay for the update. I saw some interesting Consumer Reports just in the June issue talked about antiviruses. I don't know how thoroughly I'm not sure I trust them for tech information per se. Testing antiviruses particularly is notoriously difficult. But they did say that they do not like Microsoft's Windows Security Essentials. And I've seen some people say it's not very good for zero-day flaws. So if you're trusting the free Windows Security Essentials, it might be a good idea to get NOD32 or something better. Sam is in Downey, California. Hi, Sam. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. How are you?
Wonderful, Sam. How are you?
Okay. I spoke to you before. This is Sam from the Green Genie.
Okay.
I'm developing an application for the green screen, which I already have, but I want to make it a photo booth. What I want to do is to lock the PC completely. They only can have access to the application. They cannot go to the start menu to anywhere else.
And why do you want to do that?
Because what I'm doing, the application will run on
you want to use every bit of the CPU and everything?
No.
Oh.
The reason I'm doing that, application will be the photographer taking the pictures, the image transfer, then the person goes back to the laptop, and just the visitors, whatever, and they can go and run the application themselves and just choose the pictures and do the conversion.
Oh, so for security, you don't want you want them to stay inside the Green Genie. You don't want them to exit out and use the system.
At all, yeah, because I might put several computers so
Yeah.
they can go. You see, traditional photo booth, they just take the picture, it does it. Here, they can go and make selection, do whatever they want, but I want them to keep them stay in one application. Unlock the keyboard and maybe a security, they can just go unlock the whole thing,
Boy, I have no idea. Is the computer going to be the customer's computer?
No, well, I develop application which I sell it, but then let's say you have let's say if you have two laptops there, so the laptops is going to be on the floor, and we have an event, right? and they could go and use it once they do. But I want the lock. In other words, let's say you're running. Forget the software. Let's say you're running a web page only.
Okay, what you want is kiosk mode. So if you Google it, this is what a kiosk does, right? You're on a kiosk and it may be running Windows. You don't know unless the thing crashes. Sometimes we see kiosks with blue screens of death. Then we know it's running Windows. So what you should do is Google kiosk mode for the versions of Windows that you're using. It's pretty easy to put it into kiosk mode. That's exactly what Microsoft designed it for. I think that's what you want. Hey, thanks for joining us. I hope you have a great Geek Week. I hope you come back next week. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Bye-bye.